Hello, listeners. Welcome to the brand new series Humans of CoLLearn, where we chat with students from our cohort and explore their journeys. CoLLearn is an edtech platform that fulfills non traditional career choices through live, online, offbeat courses and mentorship by well renowned industry experts in an engaging and interactive manner. CoLLearn helps you make traditional career choices in a cohort based setting surrounded by a world class community. We have courses ranging from various fields like multimedia sports journalism to cricket umpiring and sports analytics, to name a few. On today's episode, we have Sujay Shetty, a student from our sports analytics course, here to talk about his very inspiring journey. Without further ado, let's get started. Hi, Sujay. Welcome to episode 5 of Humans of CoLLearn series. I'm thrilled, we're having this discussion. And before we kickstart the proceedings and, just give a little insight to our listeners, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, Nia. My name is Sujay Shetty. Born and brought up in Mumbai, always been a Bombay guy. And I've done my engineering from Mumbai University in computer engineering. And post that, I've done my MBA in marketing again from Mumbai University. And worked across couple of companies and media industry, and then finally landed up one of the dream jobs that I wanted. And good evening to all the listeners of CoLLearn.
Yeah, and it's such an exciting journey you have traversed, to land your dream job. But if I had to ask, how did your interest in sports develop, right? And how did that translate to your willingness to, pursue a career in the sports industry?
So I'll be very honest, I never had a timetable earlier in my childhood, right? But there was always one timetable with discipline which I used to follow, was of going out and playing cricket, right? So be it early morning, whenever I used to get a time before, during our holidays or coming after from the school. So there was always one timetable which I used to follow, and I used to make sure, that, okay, this is my 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours of playing. And being a naughty child, cricket on the field was where, I could give out all the energy. And that's when, as early as my childhood, where my love for cricket and passion for actually sports started earlier in my career. So I'll tell you, even now, I make sure that every weekend, whenever I get a chance, I go out and remove that 3 hours, 4 hours of time, I go out and play cricket with my friends. So even if I don't do anything, like even if I'm partying, even if I'm outside somewhere, and if I come back home late on Fridays, even if it's like 2 a.m. in the night or 3 a.m. in the night, I'll make sure that I get up at 6:37, and I'll go and play. That never happens for anything else, not even for trips, right? So that is when I realized, okay, this is something where I don't have to force myself, or, I probably is something which I want to do 24/7. I mean, I really love eating, as I always say that, I like to try new cuisines and stuff. But if there is something for which I can give up eating, that is cricket. And when I landed up this job, I realized that, for next 24/7, I am going to be thinking about cricket, breathing about cricket, talking about cricket with all the people around me is going to be around cricket, right? So that is something which is motivating me even further.
Absolutely. It's so remarkable to hear, your passion actually comes through so much. But how did you come across the sports analytics course that's offered by CoLLearn, and how did they help you realize your dream?
So I'll be very honest, during pandemic, actually, we all realized, right, that life is really very short. And that is when everybody started introspecting, ki, yaar, what do you want to do in life? Kya karna chahiye? People had that time to think about what they want to do, how they want to shape their careers and stuff, right? And that's when majority of my colleagues were actually, and thanks to work from home, first of all, where we had that additional time. And in Bombay, that, at least you'll ending up, at least 2 hours in traffic, right? 2-3 hours in traffic, right? So now that 2 hours per day, you used to save that 2 hours per day, right? And while many of my friends and colleagues were doing some courses in and around either Excel or PPT or Google Analytics, I was very clear I would want to do something which I really love. And cricket was a no-brainer, right? I wanted to do something in cricket. And that's when I was searching for different courses and stuff, and where through LinkedIn I came to know about CoLlearn as a group where they were offering a lot of studies and certification courses around cricket. Now, again, when I spoke about my love for cricket in my initial days from childhood, right? So we used to have those trump cards, right? Earlier, when obviously we did not have much of Google and ClickBus and stuff, where you had all the analytics or probably all the data. Those trump cards were the one where you used to find all the updated analytics, right? कि किसने कितना से, most of the times it always used to be for batsman Sachin Tendulkar who used to win, and the major stats remained with Sachin, right? But that's where my love for analytics, or I would say from a stats point of view, right? I always used to love that, किसने कितना run बनाया, क्या average था and stuff. And so when I came to know about the CoLlearn analytics course, I actually had a couple of interactions with Srishti, to ask her what exactly is the course. I tried and got an answer from her in a very detailed manner that we'll be having different assignments and obviously the end goal was always, how is it going to help me in my career or future goal, right? Because I was into media and was doing something else. But once I was very certain and very clear of the different modules that this course is going to bring me, I was gung-ho about this course, right? Also, what helped was obviously the course was curated with CoLlearn and Gaurav Sundaraman, right? And Gaurav is a very, very big name in sports analytics. And when I actually joined in, I had liking of numbers, and I went in with a very open mind that let's learn, let's see where it takes me. And up till now, within my group and all, I generally used to be the one who was like very good with numbers and stuff. But here, when I joined, everybody was like cricket or sports fanatic, or everybody was good with numbers, right? And that's where regular guidance from Gaurav also helped, because I was new to this. I did not have much background into analytics. I just that, I used to love cricket. I used to love numbers or averages around cricket and stats around cricket. But then when I went into this course, I realized there are more facets to it, right? So I generally, I've started giving that dating analogy, right? When you start dating a person, you like a person or you don't like a person, but when you start liking a person rather, or there are few things which interest you in that person, right? But once you get deeper, there are multiple facets to that particular person. So in a similar way, once I got into this course, I realized, there are plethora of stuff to do. And, the way you think, the way you, approach a problem. And the good part was there were multiple assignments that we used to do. And that is where it actually really helped me, and the whole group, the mix of the group was totally different, right? So there were people who had experiences, the job experiences. There were people who were just passed out of college. So it was a mix. The whole group was a mix of different experiences. And that really helped actually, because you knew that, you have to be very sharp enough with like the young guys, as well as, to bring in that experience. And Gaurav was always there to, help you think in that direction. And also the assignments that we had were designed in a way where all assignments were slightly different as well. If I have to give one example, slightly lengthy answer, but if I have to give one example, after I think about three or four lectures, in one of the lectures, so up till now we were doing assignments around cricket, which was we all like cricket, and we were very comfortable with it. In one of the assignments, Gaurav just showed us a 1.5 minute video of a tennis rally, and everybody were stumped, how do we approach it and how do we analyze that? And for the first 20 minutes, the whole batch, almost everyone were puzzled, what is the direction where we should go or how we should think and all. But then once Gaurav gave us the direction, and we were like, Acha, we never thought that this is the way how we could approach that problem. And then obviously, then the next 30 minutes, everyone, we made sure that we gave about 50 different parameters or pointers of how we could analyze that particular video. So that just shows there is a possibility, there are many doors in front of you, right? You just need to break open that door, and you need to be open to get into that. And I think CoLLearn has actually helped in that sense, where I could get more closer to my passion, and that was one of the biggest things which I've got from CoLLearn. Also, the job opportunity, right, with RR was posted at CoLLearn. So I think had I not done this course, I would have not been part of the whole the group and stuff, and I've never have come across this opportunity. So I think a big shout out to CoLLearn as well as Gaurav. And I think during the process also there was a lot of time when I used to trouble Gaurav was Srishti, I have planned like this my for my RR interview. Do you think am I thinking in the right direction, or do you want me to think in some other direction? And I think they were very sweet enough, and because I used to call them at odd erratic hours, and you're like, shall I do it? Shall I? Because obviously it is generally used to be late in the night post my regular work, and they were like, they were very sweet enough to help me out with that. So that was a good thing about it.
That's actually so beautifully put. And you've had such remarkable and myriad set of experiences, right? Now you've worked with Z Entertainment, Red FM, Radio Mirchi, to name a few, because you come from such an absolute non-sports background. Your story is actually super inspirational. So how did you crack, this prestigious sports job in an IPL franchise? That's the dream, right? For so many of us.
So I'm sure all of us would have watched the cred ad, right? Yeah. While Rahul Dravid had acted, and where he was like, Indira Nagar ka gunda main ho. So when a cricketer can beautifully portray an act, and I think that's where I was like, yeah, why not? Why think that why to keep that baggage, right? In fact, I feel that one of my biggest strengths was always that I am not from a sports background, and I am from a media background, which is a varied background, right? Right from a radio to a TV to a activation background, right? Because all of the people whom I was competing with for the position was specifically from a sports background. So I always knew that I'm going to be that X factor, and I'm going to bring that different thought process in the overall scheme of things, and that's where I feel, in fact, it probably added more, or rather, it beautifully landed up. And as I always meant, right, cricket has always been my passion, and here I had an opportunity where I could convert my passion into actual work, and it was actually a no-brainer for me. So in my regular work also, I always used to keep up opening Crick Buzz or Crick Info and stuff. And this is something where I know that now I have to open Crick Buzz and Crick Info, because this is part of my job. So I think so I would say the biggest strength that I had was always that I was coming in from a different background, and actually that was an added advantage for me overall throughout the process, because the lens from where I could think was slightly larger than life, coming from a media background, and the creative aspects that I got on table was actually the thing which they were also looking forward for. And I think that helped me, stay ahead of all the people who were part of the overall race for that particular position.
That's actually brilliant. And, to give our listeners to an insight of how everything works. So how was, the interview process at Rajasthan Royals, and what was that experience like? Was it nerve-wracking? Was it fun? Thoughts?
So it was fun, because obviously it was around cricket. So I was waiting forward to, go and give that interview, like, come on, give. I was all waiting for whatever questions were right. But the rounds were really very well. So I had about 4 rounds of interviews, 3 in the so I met 3 different people, and the last round was with the CEO and stuff, where I was talking about the overall sports narrative in India and globally, right? So while during the overall process, my interview rounds were pretty well, but as you mentioned, since I was from a different background, I realized I need to convince them. Like, I was always convinced that okay, I am the right one for the job, but I obviously had to convince them also, and that's where the challenge lied. And I thought, why not? And this was my ticket to get into the sports industry, right? So I actually left no stone unturned. And while the process was going good, I realized if I can do any assignment or something proactively, I asked them, if I could do any specific assignment, because once I do that assignment and once they see the way what I'm thinking or my thought process, that will actually add and do wonders for my credentials. Because in the interview I will obviously talk about my past experiences, which was from media, right? But they would want to know what I can bring to the sports industry. And that's where I thought, probably I, from myself only, I asked them, whether if I could work on some of the assignments. In one of the rounds, they suggested, there were a couple of assignments that was given. In the further rounds, it was them who, gave me few assignments and which I had to do. And luckily, since it was around cricket, I could bring that thought, what I already had, and some plans which I had around cricket for an IPL team, and it worked. And yes, so slowly and steadily, I managed clearing one step at a time, one round at a time, and after 4 rounds, I landed up the job.
That's actually phenomenal to hear. And what is your first reaction like, when you realized, hey, I'm going to be working with Rajasthan Royals, getting real? And what is your role like? Could you tell us more about that?
Right. First reaction was, wow, I am going to meet R. Ashwin. So, being, as I mentioned, I also play cricket. So, being an off spinner, R. Ashwin is someone whom I absolutely adore, right? And the first thing was like, okay, whatever it is, I'm going to go and meet him during this IPL, right? So that was something which I was like pretty happy about. But then post that, when actually it sunk in, okay, I'm going to join Rajasthan Royals, I actually probably there were a few tears of joy which happened when I called back home, when I called back my mom and my wife, and then all my friends through my engineering or my MBA days or my work, they know how mad I am about cricket and how passionate I am when it comes to talking about cricket and stuff. And they even, in fact, seeing people happy that I was making it to RR made me even more happy now. And that is something which I cannot express it in words. Because that feeling when I got the call from the HR, and while so there, after rounds, there were a few other discussions where we were having because of the joining dates and all this stuff. So even after clearing the rounds, there were some doubts which was going on based on the number of days and stuff. But finally, it happened, right? So and when it happened, I was like, okay, yes, now finally I'm one more step closer to achieving that dream which I always wanted. So yeah, it was actually a great feeling of happiness. To come to the role, so I will be joining them, or rather I've already joined them in the partnerships and sponsorship role, where anything to do with your jersey sponsorship or partnership for any kind of activities that Rajasthan Royals do. So there is a team, I've been joining that team, and so basically we'll be getting in the revenues from within the brands and creating some special integrated activities with the franchise, with the cricketers. And there's a lot of stuff that RR is doing to help women cricket as well as grassroots level cricket, right? So apart from the regular TV-led activities that you see what the franchise is doing, we are doing a lot of stuff into grassroots cricket in India, be it in Rajasthan, be it in Kerala, be it in Guwahati and stuff. So I think it's going to be fun times ahead. So looking forward for that journey with them, basically.
Absolutely. And as we reach, the conclusion of our interview, what do you think the road ahead for you looks like? Now you have landed this dream job. So do you have goals and aspirations ahead?
Yes, there are many goals, and small time goals and a long time goal as well. So let's see how it goes, because for me, I feel the journey has just begun. So up till now, I was waiting for that right train in my life. Now I am on that train. Now let's see where the train stops, how the journey goes. And given the scenario where Indian sports is currently, there is, lots and lots of option. And currently India is at a very nascent stage. So yes, male cricket is something which is already made its mark. Now with the Women's Premier League and lot of other ancillary activities around women's cricket, that is again going to be very big. And apart from cricket, the overall sports as an industry, is going to grow like anything in India. And I think the whole bandwagon of people jumping and in fact thinking about working in the sports industry, apart from the athletes as well, right? It's all going to just create a whole big industry for everyone. And I am really very much excited to be part of this growth journey, right? Whenever you are part of something such beautiful, which is actually a larger cause kind of a thing. So I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be mad times ahead, but it's going to be really fun times to work within this industry.
Exactly. Exciting times certainly await us. And, as we draw curtains on our episode, do you have any final thoughts or a message, for our listeners who aspire to be like you, to land those dream jobs and actually excel at them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually, during this process and during my multiple rounds at RR, I came across a very beautiful message, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to stay with me for life, which I would actually like to share with the listeners. During my process, at one of the places in one of the hoardings, I actually read a quote saying, "You did not come this far to come only this far." And I realized, okay, my journey with sports sponsorship or this role has been like that, where I think in fact before CoLLearn also, before pandemic, at one of the places I had tried for a sports led job, but it did not happen because they did not feel that I had the relevant experience. Post cut to 3 years later, I kept trying. I kept approaching different people and stuff, but nothing happened. But then when actually that time came, and when actually the odds were against me, and many people actually thought that, okay, you don't have the relevant experience, but then I would request all the listeners of CoLLearn and the students, just keep believing yourself, because and perennially, if you are optimistic, you will land up where you want to be, right? And वैसे भी see, I have another principle कि यार अगर ना है तो ठीक है, give it one more shot, might as well you land up there. नहीं हुआ तो ठीक है, you have given you 100%, you'll be happy about it, right? You will have no regrets basically. So that's about it, right? And I think eventually, I believe everyone reaches where they want to be. It's just that you need to you need to have that conviction and make sure that you keep on pressing, and that is what sports teaches us, right? You don't give up, and miracles do happen in sports. So it's just that you need to keep on giving your best. Some or the other time, it's going to convert.
That's actually such a fitting conclusion to what has been, such a remarkable discussion as well. And on that note, thank you so much, Sujay, for joining me on the podcast and, for sharing your lovely story. It has certainly inspired me, and I'm sure our listeners will, resonate with your story and, chase that dream job that they're wishing. Here's wishing you all the best for, all your ventures ahead. And here's hoping you keep soaring. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was pleasure talking to you. And, I hope even if, even if one other person gets inspired by this journey of coming from a non-sports background to getting into a sports background, I mean, I'll be more than happy that my chat helped. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, listeners, for tuning into this episode. And you can check out CoLLearn's website, thecolllearn.com, to see our courses and enroll in them. This episode is available on YouTube and all leading podcast platforms. Please share this with your network as well. Until next time, stay safe and bye, listeners.